I'm going to be sharing with you in this video how to become a lucky person. And the truth is that nobody is actually going to tell you this. Everybody in life, most of the time, is going to sugarcoat their answer. They're not going to give you the real answer that's actually going to transform you, that's actually going to change you. Because the truth is that they're not bold enough. They're too scared to give you the real details that you need to actually shape yourself into the person that you truly desire from your heart space. And so really the first thing that I want to share with you in this video is just to understand that in my personal belief, I really don't believe in luck. What I really believe luck is just preparedness plus opportunity. So what it really means is that every single night you go to sleep, you can easily be thinking about what you want. So you have this power within your life every time you kind of relax or get into a meditative or a heavy relaxed state to start to think about what you want. And this is the opportunity that you have every single night that you sleep, which really I believe is the best time. And when you do this, you now are shaping yourself to be more aware of the opportunities in your life that you actually want. So what that means is that you're preparing your vessel to find what it is that you actually want. And most people do this maybe on accident, or they do this more deliberately. But this video is being recorded with the intention to help you do this deliberately. It's not to let your ego get into the equation. It's not to say that your ego needs to run the show. You can still be connected to the divine. You can still be connected to who you truly are. It is not required of you to lose the spirit and to lose the essence of how you do what you do in your life in order to do this. In fact, I believe that these things are mutually exclusive. They just both exist, at the same time. So I believe that that's a big part of life. That's almost what life is really about, is you preparing yourself to become a vessel to be able to easily receive the desire that you have in your life. To just make it easy. It's not supposed to be difficult. And the perfect analogy that I will always share is a very simple question, which you've probably heard before, but I'm going to say it again, is how many yellow cars did you see yesterday? Probably not that many. But if you consciously look out for yellow cars as you go through your life, if you consciously look for yellow cars for the next day, exactly for the next day, you look out for yellow cars, you'll probably find 10, you'll probably find 15, you'll probably find 20. And so how is it that you go from 0 to 20 just by changing your awareness, just by changing the way of being that you're in, changing how you're doing what you're doing? It's because your intention and the way that you see life shapes your reality. It shapes the way that your existence unfolds. And people a lot of the times do not take responsibility for this. They are almost just very poor at taking responsibility over the fact that maybe, just maybe, luck isn't just something that happens. Maybe you can tap into the energy of luck itself. And so the second thing that I want to share with you in this video is to understand that I believe it is very important to not emotionalize what you do not want in your life. This is very, very important, because what happens is that every single time you are like, gossiping, like, oh, this person does this and that and this and this and that. That type of mentality where you're like gossiping and you're thinking like, oh yeah, this person did this and they always do this, and it's like, I can't believe that they're doing this. And it's like, look, there's a time and place to call somebody out. There's a time and place to call somebody out. And then to look at them and say like, hey, why are you being this way? Like, this shouldn't really be happening. You shouldn't really be acting like this. Like, I think that you can be a better person. Like, you can be the leader in that situation and say, you know what? Like, you don't need to be actually like showing up with all this sort of hostility right now. It doesn't have to be like that. But a lot of times it's not about convincing people of anything. It's about understanding that you have to just be aware and, again, responsible of where you in your life are doing this yourself. Because it's so easy to point fingers. It's so easy to look at somebody and say like, why are you doing this? And how is this happening? And like, this shouldn't be happening to you. But every single time you're doing that, are you possibly getting a little bit distracted of where you could be doing something better in your life? While you're pointing fingers at the other person in terms of why they did something wrong, maybe you're slowly becoming the person that you don't even like, and you're doing the same thing that they did. So the best thing that you can do is, when you catch yourself emotionalizing something that you don't want, the best thing you can do in that situation is not resist it or try to fight this happening. It's just to simply have awareness. Simply to have awareness behind what's happening, so to speak, for a lack of a better term, to have awareness of how the situation is playing out so that you can see that you don't need to be falling into these sort of egotistical patterns of emotionalizing something and then gossiping about it or screaming about it. Not that, screaming is bad, not that feeling anger is bad, but I'm talking about sort of like a undirected anger. Because there's a space to be angry. There's a way to deal with anger in a mature way where you can have anger. You don't need to be entangled in the anger. You don't need to wrap yourself up in the anger. But that's the problem, is that it's not just about emotionalizing. I want to go a little bit more in depth here. It's also about getting entangled with it. Because you might have a situation in life where you are a little bit upset, or you are a little bit angry, or you do have something that you want to rant about or be upset about or feel some type of emotion. But the key is not that any of these things are wrong. It's just that when you emotionalize it and then plus you entangle yourself in it, this is when I believe that you can become, so to speak, an unlucky person. When people entangle themselves up in their problems a lot, they typically become a type of person that has many problems that happen in their life, and that person has a lack of self-trust. So to become a person that has more self-trust, that seemingly is more lucky, that seemingly tries less but gets more results, is about having awareness and catching yourself when you're emotionalizing something you don't prefer in your experience. That's probably one of the most important skill sets that you're ever going to be able to learn in your life, is to start to become aware of when you're doing this. Start to become aware of when you're falling into entanglement with the problems in your life that you don't even want, leading you to be a little bit more emotional about things and act in a certain way and be more exaggerated and be a little bit more off the deep end and not be as mature, and then have this sort of reactivity, that you don't want in your life. You start to act in ways that you don't really want. So the key is to create a safe space for these patterns to come out. It's better to have these things come up in a safe space rather than getting entangled in it, and now it becomes truly a part of your identity where problems just happen to you all the time. Not to say that things just don't happen in life, because remember, you can't control everything, right? Some things are just not in your control. But be careful when you entangle yourself with these sort of life situations that are, of course, inevitable. But if you entangle and have your identity wrapped up in it, it's a very, very heavy burden to carry, to be wrapped up in this kind of a identity in your life where you always have problems and things always happen negatively just to me, and everybody else has it easy but me, of course, I'm always the unlucky one, it always happens to me. You don't want to become that person, because that's a person that's going to be a victim to their life circumstances. That's going to be a person that never really focuses on the present moment, but they're always stuck in the past. They're always stuck in the future. Even if this type of person, you were to give them what they wanted on a silver platter, they probably wouldn't even be able to accept it. They probably wouldn't have been able to accept it, because what happens is that they will find a way to be scared of losing it so much that while they in front of them have the thing that they want, all they can think about is, when am I going to lose it? When am I going to lose this thing? It's like you finally get the money that you want, but all you're scared about is, what if I lose it? And you can't even be present in the moment because you're so scared of losing it. That's a serious problem. If you care about money so much that you're wanting money, but then in the moment you're actually so scared of losing it that you're suffering through the whole time that you're doing that, is it really worth it? Is that really worth it? What if there's a better way where you can connect to the essence of who you are, still go for the money, still go for the things that you love, still get what it is that you want, but to not be so entangled in it where you can actually enjoy what it is that you want in the present moment? Because really, you want to be able to enjoy what you want in this present moment. If you were to get these things, wouldn't you want to fully be able to experience the blessing? Or do you want to live in a state of suffering where you're scared of losing it? If you don't want to be stuck in a state of suffering where you're afraid of losing it, one of the best things that you can do is to, again, not try your best to not emotionalize what you don't prefer in your life, and as well as a bonus, to not be entangled in it. Don't have entanglement with your emotions to begin with whatsoever, happy or sad, let alone negative things in your life. And that's the key right there, is to don't entangle yourself with the happy or the sad, where now you have more conscious awareness to then simply not give energy by, what is energy? Attention, not giving attention, unnecessary attention, to the things you don't prefer. It happens once, it comes in like a cloud, it pops in your experience. You might get upset, but don't get upset over the fact that you're upset. Don't judge yourself for judging yourself. Let the negativity pass through once. Let yourself suffer enough, just enough that you have to. Don't suffer twice. Don't bring up something from the past where now you need to suffer again over something that already happened. Why give yourself the pain twice? You already went through it once. There's no reason to go through it again in the present moment when it already happened. Let the suffering be what it was in that moment. Don't bring it up a second time. You don't need to suffer twice in your life, or 3 times or 4 times, or let alone, or God forbid, the rest of your life. One thing that happened a long time ago, repeat it for the rest of every single day for the rest of your life. Don't become that person. That's going to be a person that lives in victimhood, that lives in resentment at the world, and they're never going to be happy in their life. And so to conclude this video, the last thing that I want to share with you is to really put yourself in a position of leverage in your life, to actually be lucky. Leverage is, again, what I talk about this a lot in my videos, investing in your skill sets. Leverage is putting yourself in a position where you take daily action every single day, where now it's almost like you have a higher probability of getting the result that you want in your life. And then you look at a person that does this, and you might think like, oh my gosh, they're so lucky. Are they really? Like if somebody commits to something every single day, with 0 breaks, they're completely committed. They never take a break. They're always doing something on a very consistent basis. And of course, I'm not saying that, they never take a break. Of course, regeneration and actually taking a break is often like more than half, if not at least just as important as the action taking itself, because you have to recharge. Without recharging, you're never going to be able to get the result. But at the same time though, you want to be able to almost like make it so that it's almost like you can't not get the result. It's like, imagine somebody puts in 10,000 repetitions, but then another person puts in 100,000 repetitions, and they have a bigger network, and they have invested more time into something, and they've invested more money into something. They're probably going to be luckier in certain areas. If somebody puts in 100,000 hours in how to be the best business person and how to be the best salesperson, they read, they have 100,000 hours of action. They have 100,000 hours of books that they've read, and they've connected with more people, hundreds of more people. They've had thousands of more conversations. They have thousands of more sales calls. Like, you're going to look at that person and they're going to have probably more closed deals in their business. And you're going to say, like, oh, this person's just so lucky. They always close deals. Is it lucky? Or are they just really putting themselves in a position where they're using the skill sets that they've learned in their life to make this so that they're probably going to get a result from them? You're probably going to get a result if you put yourself in a position where literally you have a higher probability of getting the result because you've just simply taken more action. So put yourself in a position where, like, if you have a skill set, for example, if you're good at something, make it so that you're actually using that talent and using that skill set every single day. Make sure that you're always thinking about it. Make sure that you're taking daily action on it. Make sure that you're sharing it with people. You're probably going to get something more out of it than if you're not doing those things. And that might sound like common sense, but you'd be very surprised where some people just don't understand this concept of putting yourself again in a position where it's just probably more likely that you're going to get the thing that you've always wanted. You know what I mean? Because here's the thing that you don't want to do to make it even more clear. Don't be in a state of waiting or hoping that something's going to happen. Like, if you take enough action on something, you develop sort of like a lethal level of confidence where it's almost like you feel like you deserve that confidence. To guess, actually, I deserve this confidence. Technically you don't really need to actually, like, sometimes you can just give yourself permission to be worthy of something just like that, and you're good to go. But whatever you need to do, whether it's 10,000 repetitions or 100,000 repetitions, or maybe hiring the right mentors, or maybe investing in more skill sets, or maybe taking more action, whatever, in a certain area, whatever it is, whatever you need to do to give yourself permission to feel worthy of having what you want, and then being so prepared that all you see in life is just more opportunities to then step into the role and the identity that you prefer. Whatever you need to do to feel that confidence, like, you need to please just do that. Please just do that, because that's the level of confidence you need to be lucky. Like, if you believe you're a lucky person, you probably are going to see more opportunities to be a lucky person. If you're entangled with a belief that, the world is a bad place unless you're an unlucky person, you're probably just going to see a reflection of this. And the way to again, navigate that is to just not by fighting it, by simply having awareness around it. Simply having awareness around it where you're not involved so much in the emotions in your life. You rise above the problems in your life. You rise above the challenges in your life, giving yourself actually a chance to be a quote unquote more lucky person, so that you can actually, again, choose to be the person that you want to be, instead of forcing yourself to be something that you don't actually feel like wanting to do in your